Arriving in an unknown town by boat, air, car or balloon is like meeting a human for the first time. For places, too, have a face of their own and hide their specific genius loci, a character equivalent to the human soul. Many circumstances then decide whether our relationship with a town will be love at first sight or lasting respect for the heritage from those who lived and worked there for centuries. In many ways, the destinies of people and places are alike. True values are only discovered by closer scrutiny after the first flush. Litoměřice in space and time. Litoměřice is a Bohemian city on the river Elbe, and its nearly 1,000-year-old history has been flowing with the Elbe waters. The medieval town's favorable position is well visible on old vedutas from all sides. This is where the fertile Elbe plain beyond the river runs into the slopes of the hills, and coming from the south, Litoměřice is the first urban landmark of the Bohemian Middle Mountains. Not far from here, the Elbe makes its way through the mountains in places known since time immemorial as Porta Bohemica, the Gate of Bohemia. Water here was synonymous with life way back in primeval times already. The core of the settlement of the future town was on today's Cathedral Hill. A chapter was established there as early as 1057. Its foundation charter is the oldest written document given in Bohemia's territory. Its original has been preserved to this day. Though written in Latin, the text on its other side comprises the first sentence ever written in the Czech language. However, the oldest preserved appearance of Cathedral Hill was recorded as late as the first half of the 17th century. The oldest representation of Litoměřice from the east dates back to 1581. The Gothic palatial building of the royal castle is part of the city fortifications. A powerful defense system marked the enclosed ground plan of medieval Litoměřice. There was a system of ramparts, battlements and moats with prism-shaped turrets and round bastions arising from them. Only the gables and spires of the churches rose above the level of the fortifications. The way from the eastern gate of the square was fittingly called Long Street. The old gate has long been gone, but the street has remained the backbone of the historical city centre throughout the periods of its metamorphoses. The street projects to a major landmark of the city tower. This oldest, splendidly preserved Gothic structure used to serve as a watchtower, a belfry, and municipal treasury. The southern front of the main square is made up of a series of remarkable buildings. The Renaissance Black Eagle House, decorated with sgraffitos, was erected by Ambrose Bali Vlach, a master builder of Italian origin. Characteristic of his works are attic gables which used to adorn quite a number of burghers' houses. The originally Renaissance Chalice House, with its typical dome, is now the seat of the municipal office and its information centre. Close to the square, behind the Baroque facade of the art gallery, you'll find gems of Gothic and Baroque art. The Litoměřice Latin Fraternity Hymn Book from 1517 contains 465 parchment sheets with a beautiful representation of the municipal coat of arms and a number of ecclesiastical and worldly scenes. Apart from oozing period atmosphere, the work testifies to a high standard of book publishing. The tragic story of early 15th century religious reformer Master John Huss is presented there too. Lingering in historical memory is also the siege of Litoměřice by Hussite warrior Jan Žižka. The city, though, remained unconquered. The Middle Ages were, however, also marked by pomp and circumstance, city fairs, and all sorts of pastime. In 1655, Litoměřice became the seat of a newly established bishopric, an event which restored its position as the center of northwestern Bohemia, and not only in the ecclesiastical sense of the word. The great era of the Baroque style set in, and artists and builders, particularly from Italy, were again invited to work in Litoměřice, in what was a major asset for the standard of culture in the city. This slate Gothic house in the square is one of the oldest still preserved buildings in Litoměřice. Since 1995, it's been the home of the Diocesan Art Gallery, whose collections were thus made open to the public again after a lapse of 100 years. Rare exhibits include Romanesque statues of the evangelists from the church in nearby Litoměřice. But also this picture of St. Anthony by Lucas Cranach, and a number of paintings and statues from the Baroque period. The city and its environs had long boasted large vineyards bestowed upon the municipality by none less than Charles IV, Czech king and Roman emperor back in 1359. Thus we can see fine varieties of vine growing on the slopes of Radobil Hill. And viticultural motifs also adorn the local cathedral, with St. Wenceslas, the patron saint of the Czech land, himself shown in a vineyard. According to tradition recorded by Pavel Stransky in 1634, anyone ought to deem himself fortunate who has not been hissed off in Žatec, beaten up in Loni, or made drunk in Litoměřice. The oldest Renaissance building in the city, the former Litoměřice town hall, with a blend of Saxonian and Venetian influence discernible in its architecture. The statue of Roland used to symbolize the city's right to hold markets. The building, noted for its unique corbel staircase, now houses the Museum of Local History and Geography. Sitting here on the municipal council at the beginning of the 17th century was Pavel Stransky, the greatest Czech humanistic scholar next to Comenius. The list of Litoměřice priorities includes the first ever map of Bohemia, called Claudian's Map. It's deposited in the local archives. Prominent Baroque architects of Italian origin included in particular Giulio Broggio, and later his son Octavio, the most significant master builder of his time outside Prague. Their works of architecture, worldly and ecclesiastical, left marks of distinction on the face of the city and its surroundings. Thus, the little church of St. Wenceslas stands out for its beauty and purity of style. The Broggio dynasty is responsible for other major examples of the Baroque style in Litoměřice too. The deconsecrated Church of Annunciation now houses a bold special occasion exhibition called Baroque Art and Today. In 1836, following a short stay in Litoměřice, poet Karel Hynek-Mácha died here and remained buried at the local cemetery for 100 years. Not by chance is the name of the greatest poet of Czech Romanticism associated with the city where his earthly pilgrimage came to an end, while he remained forever young. Josef Jungmann, a famous 19th century Czech philologist and representative of the Czech national revival movement, lived and worked in Litoměřice for some time. Likewise, Ferdinand Blumentritt, a local technical secondary schoolmaster, was a remarkable personage. A memorial plaque in the square is a reminder that in 1887 he invited José Rizal, a leader of the Philippines independence movement, to visit Litoměřice. The square, one of the largest in Bohemia, is a closed chapter of architectural development. It could well serve as a textbook of period styles of architecture, including classicism. Examining the suburbs, we find their more recent face in the impressive facades treated in historicizing styles. With regard to the importance of the city as an administrative, social and cultural center, this should come as no surprise, and restored to their original beauty, they are typical of the city's present-day atmosphere. Not so long ago, though, the squares, streets, houses and pavements gave one feelings of frustration and sadness. The Litoměřice suburbs are a natural continuation of the historical core, and their size and appearance are in good proportion to the size of the city proper. Art Nouveau, or Jugendstil, was the last historicizing style, a materialization of the turn-of-the-century vision of beauty. World War I left Litoměřice intact. After the breakdown of the Austro-Hungarian monarchy, the city went on living more or less peacefully. Until a new order was introduced in neighboring Germany. Then 6 years of darkness followed. One year before the end of World War II, the German Nazis built an underground mechanical engineering factory in a limestone quarry near Litoměřice, where prisoners from all over subjugated Europe were made to work under inhuman conditions. The adjacent concentration camp was the most atrocious one anywhere in Bohemia. Nobody can as much as guess how many people fell victim to the German Nazi atrocities. The post-war appearance of venerable old Litoměřice went through some considerable changes. The historical town was surrounded by prefabricated panel housing estates which altered considerably its old skyline. The heart of the city, though, has remained and shall live on. Throughout the year, a number of interesting events are held at the Litoměřice exhibition grounds. In September, for example, produce of the land lovers converge on the city for the Garden of Bohemia exhibition. The Naive Art exhibition at the Municipal Art Gallery too has a natural attraction for visitors. The destinies of people and places are alike in many respects. People wake up into a new morning every day of the year. Places, such as Litoměřice, for instance, may take decades to do so. Situated on the confluence of the Elbe and the Ohře, is one of the oldest and most impressive cities in the Czech lands.